I want to turn now to Richard Ben-Veniste. He served as a top prosecutor on the Watergate Task Force and as a former assistant U.S. attorney in SDNY, also a celebrated member of the 9/11 Commission. You've held many different public service posts. I appreciate you making time tonight, sir.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I have a lot of questions for you, but I begin with your view of what the Speaker has set out tonight and whether you think this is an advancement on the road to articles of impeachment.
I think it is. I think she has put this in a posture of utmost seriousness. It appears to me that Speaker Pelosi is moving toward the appointment of a select committee. I think that would be an interesting development in moving this along. And I think what we have seen is perhaps the straw that breaks the camel's back in terms of a discussion of impeachment.
And is that, in your view, sir, is that straw substantively stronger than the other allegations and incidents that are seen as impeachable? Because this is, as we were discussing with our experts, something that the president has done in office relating to his reelection, and he's admitted part of it.
I think so. I think, however, that this is all cumulative to the idea that the president has espoused of soliciting help from foreign governments in connection with his own personal political needs. And to do this is a departure from the normative behavior of a president of the United States, and it's very dangerous. Are we choosing up sides now in our political process to solicit help from different governments in different countries, asking for different things from our country?
Let me ask you this. In your view, based on what's publicly known, is it an impeachable abuse of power?
I think it is abusive, and I think it goes along with the disregard that the president has shown for the way in which our country has operated in the past in terms of balance of power. The ignoring of subpoenas, the bogus claims of executive privilege, the refusal to honor subpoenas for documents and testimony. All of these things, along with the advice to witnesses in the Mueller probe not to cooperate with Mueller, all of these things are cumulative to behavior that is so different from what we have come to expect from the chief executive of the United States and the chief law enforcement officer.
You remember your contemporary Carl Bernstein?
I do.
Here's what he has to say about the Ukraine scandal.
I keep getting asked, are there echoes of Watergate in this? And there are in the following ways. Watergate was very much an attempt by Richard Nixon to undermine the democratic electoral process.
Do you agree with the way he puts it there?
Well, yes, there are many analogies to Watergate and to the behaviors of Richard Nixon. But at the end of the day, I would note that Richard Nixon exhibited a sense of shame. We have not yet seen that in this president.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.